And then what did you make of Sophie Cunningham's flagrant foul on JC towards the end?
It was a flagrant foul.
You think it's like defending Caitlin or defending the team, or how do you view just how it opened?
I view it as a flagrant foul.
That's about the game too.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys came for basketball.
Yeah,
Let's talk about basketball. Come on now.
What do you think of just how you all were able to pull in the second half, Caitlin, in particular?
We're going to the Commissioner Cup Championship.
Let's
That's
go!
pretty exciting. Y'all want to talk about that? Let's talk about that.
What do you think, again, in the second half?
So, what did you make of Sophie Cunningham's flagrant foul on JC near the end? Do you see it as just tough defense, or more like protecting the team? How do you interpret that play and what it showed?
WNBA record. This is her second season. And you put the numbers together, that's like 10 seasons. That girl did it in 10 seasons. That means she had one a season. Caitlin Clark is... when Caitlin Clark gets to 10 seasons, she's going to have 100 of these. And y'all can't get a girl her roses. Now, I don't like the fact that she be getting woke because she don't want all these lesbians to be mad at it. At the end of the day, is the woman putting in the work, she's putting in the work.
I see it clearly as a flagrant foul. The WNBA risks harming itself deeply right now. Its biggest star, Caitlin Clark, is reportedly nearing a breaking point, and whispers about her potentially leaving are growing louder by the day. This isn't just rookie hazing. It's about on-court aggression that officials have seemingly chosen to overlook. It's about a league grappling with jealousy toward its own brightest star and a media narrative that unfairly blames the victim. Now, a shocking rumor is circulating that Clark is planning an exit, a bold, power move that could expose some of the WNBA's most serious problems and leave the league scrambling to recover the attention she brought in the first place.
This is all going according to plan. This is ideal. Caitlin Clark is holding up her end by being awesome and by being a trash-talking jerk on the court. Love it. Her teammates are holding up their end by having her back. The other players in the league are holding up their end by not liking her. Perfect. Couldn't have written a better script. Caitlin is talking trash to this girl. This girl's hard fouling her. Her teammate Sophie Cunningham, who got a black belt in Taekwondo at the age of 6, she's like, I will F you guys up. All of it's great, and Caitlin's a killer. 10 out of 10.
To truly grasp why Caitlin Clark might consider leaving, you first have to understand the massive impact she's had on the league. The numbers don't just tell a story. They shout it loud and clear. Before Clark's arrival, the WNBA was struggling on the fringe, fighting for airtime and attention. But once she entered the scene, the league transformed into must-watch television, not just in her hometown of Indiana, but everywhere she played. Arenas that were once half-empty started selling out as fans flocked to see her in action. Some teams even had to move their games to larger NBA arenas just to handle the surge of new supporters drawn by Clark's presence. She's been nothing short of a one-woman economic powerhouse for the WNBA.
Caitlin Clark is driving the WNBA insane. It's to the point that she may need to step away from the WNBA, have a billionaire come in that has the money to prove a point, and say, Caitlin, I'll pay you $50 million just to see if the WNBA can make it without you. Let's go create a complete different league and expose the hell out of the WNBA just to embarrass this Angel Reese girl that Jameel Hill just said she could go down as a Michael Jordan of WNBA.
When Caitlin Clark's jersey dropped, it quickly became the best-selling item across all sports. No athlete came close. Meanwhile, the WNBA's viewership on major networks surged by triple digits. But the most telling sign of her impact came when she was briefly sidelined with an injury. The league's viewership plummeted by an astonishing 55%. Think about that for a moment. When one player is out, more than half of the entire TV audience disappears. Clark isn't just a team player. She is the market. She essentially funds her own competition and helps pay the salaries of the very players who, ironically, seem resentful of her success.
Well, I will say this. When Caitlin Clark was out, they lost 55% of their viewership. So, basically, Caitlin Clark is paying all their salaries.
Pretty much.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can hate her as much as you want, but she's brought in millions of fucking dollars. So you should be kissing her ass.
And that kind of defeated the purpose of Angel Reese's argument of she's like, hey, it's not just Caitlin Clark that is bringing all the viewership to the WNBA. It's like, well, it definitely is. It's like it kind of proved that with the viewership rating being down that she significantly increases viewership with
They try so hard to compare her to Caitlin Clark. They try. So
Despite all the money and attention Caitlin Clark brought in, her league debut felt less like a grand welcome and more like an ambush in the shadows. It quickly became clear that opposing teams had adopted a singular defensive game plan, test how much physical punishment she could endure before breaking. This wasn't just tough basketball, it was a calculated campaign. Every game seemed to feature aggressive closeouts, hip checks, and off-ball hits that bordered on outright assault. The most notorious moment came when Marina Maber delivered a brutal shot, sending Clark sprawling with a full-body check completely unrelated to the play.
The Fever and Sun hold a brawl and a basketball game breaks out. This was something. Caitlin Clark, without question, gets raked across the face. I think she gets poked in the eye, but it's difficult to tell.
If you're the Indiana Fever, you cannot stand by and let that happen. They need to make it clear to the officials. If you're going to let this happen, then we're going to stand up for our player and make a mess of the game, and you're going to have a big mess on your hands. So you need to stand up for this. You need to do something about this.
You've just learned with definitive data and beyond question that Caitlin Clark controls more than half the audience for the entire WNBA.
Clark's reaction was perhaps the most maddening thing for her critics. Throughout all the physical targeting, she never retaliated or made a scene. Instead, she got up, brushed herself off, and kept playing. But her calm composure wasn't viewed as professionalism, it was misread as arrogance. That only added fuel to the fire, making each subsequent hit even more brutal. The message from her opponents was unmistakable. You won't outshine us. And if they couldn't stop her with skill, they'd try to do it with force.
A lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA to be down. And this tweet from Christine Brennan really stuck out to me. She said one player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears. Has any other athlete ever had that kind of impact on a sport? Golf without Tiger definitely dropped precipitously on occasion, but not like this. This news is alarming for the league, and it's alarming for the league because this is such a crucial year for the WNBA.
WNBA front office, the very organization that should have been shielding its star player, remained surprisingly quiet. They were often quicker to issue statements about dress code violations than to address the repeated, deliberate targeting of their biggest asset, but the on-court physicality was only part of the problem. The officials, entrusted with enforcing the rules, seemed absent when it mattered most. While Caitlin was repeatedly treated like a human piñata, referees often appeared to look the other way, blowing their whistles less frequently as clear aggressive fouls went uncalled or were downgraded to routine contact. This sent a stark message to the entire league about what would and wouldn't be tolerated.
I am sick and tired of the way they are treating my girl, Caitlin Clark. I am here to propose a solution. I think they need an enforcer. You know, someone who comes off the bench to kind of lay the smackdown on an opposing team member. I want to get the word out to the Indiana Fever that I am available. I'm ready to identify as whatever I need to in order to get the job. They need someone like me. Why? Because I'm not afraid of any 6-foot-tall lesbian. I work out. Now, I have a couple of real good go-to moves in my bag of tricks.
This lack of action sparked the rise of a fan-driven online movement called Protect Caitlin Clark. Supporters turned into amateur investigators, dissecting slow-motion replays of illegal screens and desperate for referees to call the flagrant fouls that consistently went unnoticed. The campaign exposed a deeply troubling contradiction at the heart of the WNBA. The league wanted Clark's star power, ticket sales, and TV ratings, but refused to extend to her the same basic protections granted to other players. This failure wasn't just a matter of oversight. It felt like a silent endorsement of the on-court hazing she endured.
Oh, it's this shit I don't like. A snitch, nigga, it's this shit I don't like. Oh,
you know, they get into it a bit here. Lexi Hall now gets it.
a bitch, nigga.
Shoulders face, Caitlin Clark hits the deck.
Sneak decides that shit out the right.
Sheldon and Cunningham are getting into
a snitch, nigga. That's that shit out the right.
Caitlin Clark with a few words with JC shot.
As if things couldn't get any more absurd, the media stepped in, pointing fingers at the victim instead of calling out the dangerous behavior on the court. A troubling narrative began to take shape among talking heads and sports commentators. This argument is so flawed it's hard to know where to begin. We're talking about professional sports, a world fueled by ego, competition, and psychological warfare. Yet they blamed Caitlin Clark for the aggression, saying she was too confident and that her pregame trash talk provoked it. Let's be real. Legends like Larry Bird built their careers on mentally dismantling opponents, and Michael Jordan was infamous for his trash talk. So, why was Clark held to a different standard?
Caitlin Clark has decided to quit the WNBA and move on and go play over in Europe. I do not blame her. I applaud it. I say do it. Get as far away from the WNBA as you can. Let that league sink. Okay, do not help them, Caitlin. Get away. I believe you could create your own league, okay? You could be the fucking player that creates whatever, the next professional women's basketball league. Let this one just go and let Caitlin try to build the next WNBA.
This brings us back to the astonishing rumor that Clark might actually leave the league. A twist that shifts the story from one of mistreatment to a potential act of final defiance. The first scenario being discussed is the European escape, where she could land a lucrative multi-million-dollar contract overseas. In Europe, women's basketball players often receive more respect and admiration. There, Clark would be well compensated, protected by the league, and far removed from the petty drama and political battles currently plaguing the WNBA. But an even more dramatic possibility has emerged, the so-called billionaire's gambit. According to this theory, a wealthy investor observing the WNBA's self-destructive behavior might offer Clark an eye-popping deal. I'll pay you $50 million to sit out and prove the league can't survive without you. Or, better yet, finance an entirely new rival league with Clark as its star attraction. Such a move would shake the sports world to its core, a bold challenge that could expose the WNBA's vulnerabilities and perhaps build a new basketball empire from its ashes.
I want to get your opinion because it's been a minute on this Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark stuff that's been going on. Brittany Griner a couple of weeks ago in a video says trash effing white girl when she was playing Caitlin Clark. What's your just kind of 30,000 foot view of this?
There is not an organization more dedicated and committed to self-imploding than the WNBA.
God, that's...
The WNBA was like handed the golden egg that is Caitlin Clark. Yeah. And they have done everything to just self-destruct. Yeah. Whether it's these totally crazy, like, racial investigations that have been proven a hoax.
There was a puzzling, self-defeating backlash from some players who felt Clark hadn't yet earned her stripes, despite already being the most famous and influential figure in the league. In just a few months, she brought the WNBA more attention and revenue than some franchises had seen in decades. The resentment was thick in the air. Players who had spent years fighting for recognition suddenly found themselves relegated to supporting roles in the Caitlin Clark show, and they didn't take it well. This toxic vibe wasn't just limited to rivals, it seemed deeply ingrained in the league's veteran culture. A faction of players appeared more focused on knocking the new star down a peg than embracing the rare opportunities she represented. They were so caught up in defining who truly ruled the court that they failed to see the bigger picture. The league itself was at risk without her. While rivalries like the one with Angel Reese grabbed headlines, they were merely symptoms of a much deeper, systemic problem.
Caitlin Clark did her thing. Coming off of the injury, she returned for the Fever, and I swear I am not being hyperbolic. We were immediately gifted one of the greatest halves we have ever seen in the WNBA. And I say that with all context involved. This series from Caitlin Clark the pull-up three here, and you are about to see back-to-back-to-back triples for Caitlin Clark in this game. I am not trying to erase the things we have seen from Maya Moore, from Diana Taurasi, Asia Wilson's 53-point game, Stewie, Cynthia Cooper. Like, we have seen incredible halves of basketball, but you see Caitlin Clark coming off of that made three from the Liberty. Pull up, of course. She's making it in that moment.
Let's talk about the supposed rivalry that some athletes and media outlets have been desperately trying to manufacture. Every great sport has legendary rivalries, Magic versus Bird, Federer versus Nadal, that were built on deep respect and pushed both competitors to new heights. What's happening with Caitlin Clark, however, isn't a rivalry. It's a one-sided obsession. The true nature of this facade was laid bare when Angel Ree gave Clark a blatant flagrant foul to the head, only to be cheered by her own teammates on the bench afterward. This isn't about competition, it's about hostility. Real rivals challenge each other fiercely on the court, but often acknowledge each other's greatness off it. This narrative, by contrast, is being used as a convenient cover for cheap shots and petty actions. While some opponents seem more interested in making it personal, Clark stays focused on the game, playing hard and winning. Turning what should be a healthy competitive dynamic into a toxic spectacle has devalued the very meaning of a professional rivalry. Perhaps the most frustrating part is the impossible standard Clark is held to. Caught in a difficult spot, every reaction she has is scrutinized and reframed as a flaw. If she responds to a hard foul, shows frustration, or questions a referee's call, she's labeled immature or entitled. Yet if she stays silent and takes the abuse without protest, she's called arrogant, distant, or a poor teammate. She is expected to display flawless, robotic composure while enduring unprofessional and often dangerous treatment. Clark carries the emotional weight of this relentless psychological battle on top of the physical toll. And the league watches, judging how she handles it all. Beyond the immediate drama, the WNBA is playing a dangerous long game of self-sabotage. What message does this send to the stars of tomorrow? The league is effectively poisoning the well for future talent. Sponsors and corporations, the financial backbone of any professional sport, pay attention. They invest in excitement, growth, and positive stories, not in infighting, public relations nightmares, and a product that looks unstable and unprofessional. Every young woman playing basketball at the college level is watching. They see the league's brightest star treated like an outcast, her success punished rather than celebrated. This damages not just one player, but the league's reputation and future viability. It risks turning off future stars and the investments needed to keep the league alive. In the end, the league is punishing Caitlin Clark for her very greatness. She is both its crown jewel and its scapegoat. This paradox leaves the WNBA dependent on a player it refuses to properly support. If Clark stays, she accepts more silent whistles, more hard fouls, and blame for problems she didn't cause. If she leaves, it won't be defeat. It will be a bold statement that her talent and well-being are worth more than a league unwilling to value them. What will happen the day after she's gone? When arenas are half empty again, when ratings collapse, and when the mainstream media turns its attention elsewhere, it will be the moment the league must reckon with the star it drove away. It will become a cautionary tale, a once-in-a-generation phenomenon that the WNBA was too proud, too fractured, and too broken to embrace.